So let's create such a struct value then. And that all starts with defining a new custom type. Thus far, we worked with built-in types, like strings and numbers and so on. But you can actually also define your own types in Go, at least to some extent. And you do that with the type keyword, typically outside of functions, since in most cases you might want to use a type in different functions. You could, however, also use it inside of a function if you wanted to. And then after that keyword, you add the name of your custom type. For example, user. Often those names start with uppercase characters, because often you might want to make those types available outside of this package as well. As you learned in Go, it's the casing of the first character of a name that defines whether this thing, in this case this type, is available outside of this file or not. But here, for this first demo, I'll use a lowercase character because this user type is only required inside of this file and this package. So that's the name of my custom type. The last but important piece here now is the type of custom type we want to create. And that's what we'll do here by adding the struct keyword after the name of our custom type. Then you add curly braces, and this now defines your own struct, your own user type, which is a struct type. But that's not all you do when creating a struct. Indeed, the idea behind a struct is that you can group data together into that struct. And therefore, when creating such a struct type, you then add the fields, as they're called, this struct should contain between those curly braces. So for example, here we could say that such a user structure should contain a first name. Therefore, we could add first name here as an identifier between those curly braces, and that would add a field first name to that structure. And you'll see how you can work with those fields soon. Now, every field also needs a type, just as a variable needs a type. And you add that type after the field name, string in this case. Then in a new line, not separated by a comma or semicolon, just in a new line, you can add a second field if you need one. And you can add as many fields to a struct as you want. For example here, the last name field, which is also of type string, and then also the birth date field, let's say, which is also of type string. And you could add more. You could add an age, which might be of type int, so you're not limited to string values, and you can even add nested struct types. To give you an example, I'll import another package from the standard library, the time package, which allows us to work with date and time values. And I'll not use it with the birth date here, even though we could also do something with that. Instead, I'll add another field here, created at could be the name, and set this to type time.time. And time is now actually also a struct type, but one provided by that time package. And it starts with an uppercase character so that we can use it outside of that package. Now you will of course soon see how you can create such a time struct value here. But first let's take a look at our struct here. Because this is the struct I want to use for this application. That's my own custom user type that should include these fields. And the idea behind this struct is now that we can create it, for example here in the main function, and put all the data that makes up a user into that struct so that we can work with one single user value, which is of that type here, and use that in our application and access that internally stored data, so the first name, the last name, and so on, whenever we need to access it. But instead of dealing with 3 variables, we'll just deal with 1. And that's what we'll do in the next lecture.